Hi, welcome to UMP STEM Lab program. We are delighted to be part of your learning experience. Beginning 2017, MDEC has recognized UMP STEM Lab as one of its Center for Professional Development, CPD. Since then, we have been offering courses such as computational thinking, Arduino programming and robotics, Raspberry Pi, web design, game design and database systems. Besides collaborating with the industry, we also work with Ministry of Education to train school teachers and school children. In this session, we will look into game design using JavaScript. To become a web developer, one must master the following languages: HTML to define the content of the web pages, CSS to specify the layout of the web pages, JavaScript to program the behavior of the web pages. JavaScript is one of the world's most popular programming language. JavaScript is the programming language of the web. One way to learn Java is by designing an interactive game as shown in this section. Now, let's try out this game. Note the following element. This game can be accessed via ee.ump.edu.my/hazlina/outreach. Note the movement of the red box, as well as the scoring system and the obstacle. As you were playing the game just now, you can see that the active area of this game is within the box, in which we term it as the canvas area. There are two components here: the red box, the player, and the green obstacle, the green rectangular. The movement of the red box is controlled by these controllers: up, right, left, and down. The obstacle move in the X directions, and the gaps between the obstacles are random in size. There is a scoring system in this game, which is timely based. Also, we are going to look into how we can manipulate the movement of the red object or the player. Let's get started. Recall that a general HTML code contains the following item: HTML, head, and body. Styles are placed within the head, while the body contains the information to be displayed. And JavaScript is placed between the script column in the body. First, we will look into the HTML canvas. The canvas element is perfect for making games in HTML. The canvas element offers all the functionality you need for making games. Use JavaScript to draw, write, insert images, and more onto the canvas. The canvas element has a built-in project called the getContext2D object with methods and properties of drawing. You can learn more about the canvas element and getContext2D in this tutorial. Let's begin with the canvas.html file. You can retrieve this file from ee.ump.edu.my/hazlina/outreach. Here, there are variables and also functions. Variables are containers for storing data values. Variables are used to hold values. All JavaScript variables must be identified with unique names. These unique names are called identifiers. Identifiers can be short names like X and Y, or more descriptive such as age, sum, total volume, and so on. As a start, we will declare 4 variables in this project, which are my game piece, my obstacle, my score, and my game area. Note that JavaScript identifiers are case sensitive. Secondly, there are functions. A JavaScript function is a block of code designed to perform a particular task. A JavaScript function is executed when something invokes it, placed in the bracket as shown here. Here, we are going to describe the functions for components, update game area, every interval, and accelerate. Next, let's define the variables and function. Here is my game area. The object my game area will have more properties and method later in this tutorial. The function start game invokes the method start of the my game object. The start method creates a canvas element and insert it as the first child node of the body element. The canvas describes the width of 480 and a height of 270. The next item is to declare the red box, the main component. Here we name it as my game piece. Among other functions and variable changes are start game and components. This is the red component. The object constructor is called component, and we make our first component called my game piece as shown here. The components have properties and method to control their appearance and movement. Next is to add in the red box controllers as shown here. There are 4 elements to control the movement: up, down, right, and left. Now we want to control the red square by clicking into one of these components. In the body segment, the behavior of the buttons are added. This is based on the on-click method, which means that once click, the game will move. In the body segment, the behavior of the buttons are added, as shown here. This is done for all the remaining left, right, and down button. Frames. To make the game ready for action, we will update the display 50 times per second, which is much like frames in a movie. First, we need to create new function called update game area. At an interval which we run the update game area function every 20th millisecond. This means it will change 50 times per second. Also, add a function called clear that clears the entire canvas. Every frame changes. In the component constructor, add a function called update to handle the drawing of the component. The update game area function calls the clear and update method. The result is that the component is drawn and cleared 50 times per second, which is equivalent to 20 update items. Let's move to the next stage. Make 2 new components or 2 new properties in the component constructor. Let's call them speed X and speed Y. These properties are being used as speed indicators. Add a function in the component constructor known as new pose, new position, which uses speed X and speed Y properties to change the component's position. The new pose function is called from the update game area function before drawing the component. An illustration of the movements with respect to the X and Y axis is as shown here. Next is to design the obstacles. In this game, obstacles are sets of green rectangulars. To do this, we add a new component in the gaming area. Make it green, 10 pixel wide and 200 pixel height, and place it at 300 pixel in the right and 120 pixel down. Also, update the obstacle component in every frame. Let's analyze the first case, hit obstacle and game over. In the example before, nothing happens when you hit the obstacle. In this game, that is not very satisfying. How do we know if our red square hit the obstacles? To do this, we are going to create a new method in the component constructor that checks if the component crashes with another component. In this case, if the red component crashes with the green components. This method should be called every time the frames updates. In this case, 50 times per second. Also, we will add a stop method in the game area object which clears the 20 millisecond interval. The mentioned codes are added in the stop function here and the crash function here. Next, let's uplift the game a bit by having the obstacles move. The obstacles is no longer danger when it is static, so we want to move it. Change the property value of my obstacle X at every update by reducing the position. My obstacle X equals to -1. Also, we could increase the challenge by multiplying the obstacles. For that, we need a property for counting frames and a method for execute something at a given frame rate. The every interval function returns true if the current frame number corresponds with the given interval. To define multiple obstacles, first declare the obstacles variable as an array. Second, we need to make some changes in the update game area function. In the update game area function, we must look through every obstacle to see if there is a crash. If there is a crash, update game area function will stop and no more drawing is done. The update game area function counts frames and adds an obstacle every 150th frame. The additional codes that we described just now will result in the following situations. To make the game a bit more difficult and fun, we will send in obstacles of random sizes so that the red square must move up and down, not to crash. Note here, some items made random at this stage are the heights and the gaps. This is what happens when you add the codes. Next is the scoring system. The scoring system consists of these steps: counting, recording, and display. There are many ways to keep the score in a game. We will show you how to write a score onto the canvas. First, make a score component and declare it as a variable. Here, the counting process. Here, the record and the update process. While here, the counting and the update process. This is the full codes for record and update. This is the codes that is used to write the score. With the scoring system, our game will look something like this. The score will update based on frame changes. We could also add features to our game by having variations in the movement, such as gravitational force, bounce, rotation, and movement. Let's have a look on the first part, gravity. To add this functionality to our component constructor, first add a gravity property, which sets the current gravity. Here, I set this as 0.05. Then add in the gravity speed property, which increases every time we update the frame, as stated here. Moving on to the second situation, bounce. This is an interesting functionality. The bounce properties indicate if the component will bounce back when gravity makes it fall to the ground. The bounce property value must be a number. 0 as no bounce at all, and 1 will make the component bounce all the way back to where it starts to fall. This is added by manipulating an increment to the opposite y direction. Another variation is the rotating components. Earlier in this tutorial, the red square was able to move around on the game area, but it could not turn or rotate. To rotate components, we have to change the way we draw our components. The only rotation method available for the canvas element will rotate the entire canvas. An illustration of the movement is shown here. And more realistic movement can implement onto the game piece. Add a speed properties to the component constructor, which represent the current speed of the component. Also make some changes in the new position, new post method to calculate the position of the component based on speed and angle. By default, the component are facing up and setting the speed property to 1. The component will start moving forward. In our previous examples, movements of the objects is achieved via buttons on the HTML site. These movements can also be achieved by assigning the keys on the keyboard to the respective movements. As shown here, the up, down, left and right keys are tagged to the respective movements. So now you have completed the first game in JavaScript. All the files that we discussed just now are available via this site ee.ump.edu.my/hazlina/outreach. The files are listed in the learning resources. You can find the learning module, presentation slides, and design files. We wish you all the best and have fun creating your online interactive game. Thank you.